Welcome to Teka Teka. In this episode, we look into President Marcos Jr.'s leadership style and look back at the leadership styles of the presidents who came before. I'm Puma Podcast CEO Carl Javier. I'm joined by Puma Podcast founder Robbie Alampay
Hello, magandang araw po sa kanilang lahat.
and Teka Teka reporter Bella Perez Rubio.
Hi.
Okay, so we're having this conversation because binabasa natin yung comment section ng YouTube, and we have some people saying that we went a little too easy on President Marcos Jr. and the SONA. We didn't demand enough of him. And then on the other side of it, may mga nagsasabi naman na ang dami nating alam, edi tayo na lang ang maging presidente. Ah, 'Di ba? Tayo na lang kaya ang tumakbo kasi ang dami nating ideas eh. Ang dami nating alam eh. But I think it sets up this conversation to think about presidential leadership styles and the things that we're asking questions about and what we do expect of our presidents. And I always feel kasi na sobrang disingenuous ng di ikaw na lang magpresidente. And that becomes a jumping point. But also this goes to another question, which is President Marcos Jr. lazy? Or is he the best delegator we've ever seen? I don't know. Baka nagpapaka-spicy lang ako. Pero nga, maraming from the time of Pinoy, we can go back and we have yung Noy-Noying, nasa ng Pangulo, and Robbie, you'll bring us more background on that. But to move this conversation forward and to bring you guys in, I remember early in the Marcos presidency, we were doing a lot of coverage about Maharlika Fund and how aggressive he, as a president, was behind the movements of that fund, which is in play now. We're not exactly sure again what the outcomes of that are. Wala rin yun sa SONA. But then last week, like the idea that bumagyo, and other people made the decision to cancel work, to cancel school, even if he was in a position to make that decision. And I said, well, isn't it great that he just lets other people make the big decisions? And so that's where I'll start is it great that other people make these decisions? Should we be expecting the president to? Are we being unfair in being critical? Yan. Maraming tanong. Bella, what do you think?
I don't pretend to be an expert in delegation or even, bureaucratic matters. But I think for me, what was lacking there was communication. I mean, yeah, maybe it's better for everyone to make decisions as to when and how they'll cancel school and work and all of that. But I think it still would have been helpful for him to communicate to us why he decided to leave that up to everyone else. If it was a decision, I think there's a reason people look for presidents when crises unfold. I mean, we're all aware of the nasaan ng Pangulo trend. And I think that is a big part of being president is holding everyone together and keeping everyone calm, assuring everyone that government is doing what it's supposed to be doing. So yeah, I think for me, that's the crux of the issue is where was the communication when all of this was happening?
Well, I start from a baseline, actually a truth, di ba? Na I can't recall a president, whether it's a SONA or anyway, let's take the SONA, di ba? I can't recall a president where everybody was happy with the SONA. Parang it's hard to be a politician, it's hard to be a president, it's hard to be a president in this country because pagka nandiyan ka parati, pal ka. Pagka hindi ka,
Name a president na walang effigy na sinusunog.
At saka kung hindi ka naman makita, hinahanap ng lahat tao, nasan ka, di ba? So I think there's it's a balance that gaya ni Bella, I wouldn't. Totoo naman yung sinasabi ng mga tao, hindi naman ako politiko eh. I've never had that's never been in my drive to sige, ako na lang yung presidente, ako na lang yung mayor, di ba? Totoo naman yung sinasabi ng mga tao. But I think, let's just pass through that para lang acknowledge natin. Hindi naman, nandito tayo because we all have a right to speak. We all have a right to our opinions. And I think right now, pagdating sa kay President Marcos in particular, again, you compare them to past presidents, whether it's to President Duterte or to President Aquino in
Mhm.
particular, the most ano. Either way, kanina mo siya ihambing, he will have his pros and he will have his cons. Um, the most common thing we saw in the past 2 years was to compare him to Duterte, and that became too easy because it was too easy for everything to be an improvement. But I think it's a good sign that we're now starting to look at it with more nuance, and we're starting to compare him to other presidents. It means we're getting past that very low bar set by set by Duterte. I leave it at that first, and then we can get into
All right.
how exactly he compares to other presidents other than Duterte. And I think I mean, that's something for the national conversation. There is progress in that conversation when we can finally say, let's stop comparing it to Duterte because that's too easy. Let's
Sige.
stop comparing him to Duterte and nobody else. Di ba? Parang ganon. Parang
Ah,
ngayon, lawakan na natin yung conversation. Di ba?
Mm.
all right. At the risk of pissing more people off, and this is something that I don't really feel great about either. Um, but I do think that there is some wisdom to be had in zooming out and in giving him an opportunity to be his own president. uh, I feel, and what I will call out for myself is, hindi ko talaga mahiwalay dun sa presidency ng tatay niya. And all of the shortcomings in acknowledging all of that. I'll put that right there na there is very, very little opportunity for restorative justice if wrongs are not properly acknowledged. But moving forward from there, now I think I can also attempt to assess this President Marcos as a leader. And sort of, is he a consolidator? Is he an administrator? Is he a bureaucrat? And if nothing else, what I'm seeing in the last 3 or so years is that he has towed the very clear kind of neoliberal technocrat line. It's no mistake that it's GMA people, it's Pinoy people, and some Duterte holdovers, the mas technocratic rather than political, who are occupying positions. And the fact that there are very few gaffes, or there are very few big issues. No, parang ando pa rin tirahin natin sa bigas, sa ganyan, ganyan. But and the economy is hard. Yes. Could decisions be better? Yes, but we are suffering in the global economy. So overall, on the technocratic and bureaucratic, things are working. Are they working as well as we hope? Ganyan. We can always be critical. We can always find something to be critical about. But ayan, is it his leadership or is it his style? Meron ba siyang style? Yan, dun. I'll stop there. Does he have a style of leadership that we actually can point to in the same way na, again, Duterte will show up and go, oh, ito ang gusto ko mangyari. Di ba? Um, si Pinoy was very visible when he needed to be, and then not visible enough, and then ganyan. Um, I don't have enough memory of like ERAP. That it wasn't long enough, no. Ramos sort of was there. GMA was around so long that I feel like hindi ko siya masense, except like that it was uh, uh, yeah, it was mostly calm, diba, with all of these other issues that we're now dealing with coming up. But ayun, that's how I'm looking at it. Ikaw, sige, Robbie, you first.
Well, I think I do think that one thing that BBM is I think consciously uh, uh, has consciously cultivated in terms of how he will govern, that he
Mhm.
picks up directly from his father, is really getting technocrats. In during the time of his father, that was a branded campaign. People called it the Salas Boys. Paeng Salas, Rafael Salas, one of our leading bureaucrats and technocrats. And if you listen to our podcast and then really, he plays really prominently in that. But he was famous for putting together the cabinet of President Marcos Sr. And that cabinet was famous as the Salas Boys because it was all a lot of, and I don't mean to be sexist, but that really was the term during that time, and it was generally true. These were the Salas Boys. And you had a lot of really famous people to come out of that. You had Birata, you had Enrile, of course, who was then at that time at the Department of Finance. Um, you had Odi Corpus at the Department of Education. You had Gerardo Sicat helping to run the economy. A lot of really, I mean, by this time, young people won't remember them. And I also was, very, very young in the 1970s. But Sala's voice resonated as basically something that Ferdinand Marcos Sr. really projected, that my style is I will get the best and brightest, and they will run the government for me. So that's one thing. And then that's in terms of comparing him to somebody that's obviously is easy to compare him to, his father. And then on the opposite end, I think I'm starting to see that if you compare him now to somebody who is on the polar opposite, even in terms of our image, let's say comparing him to Pinoy, I'm starting to see him as somebody who's really comfortable delegating. You can say that with a smirk if you want, and you can say that with giving credit if you want. But that really is where we all, I think, agree. He delegates, and he leaves it to people. Pinoy, remember, was very different. Si Pinoy was, yes, sometimes people will say nasaan ang presidente, but very often I also wondered, kailangan ba yung presidente nagpapatakbo ng Luneta hostage crisis?
Yeah.
Diba? When that was to me, a local government, that should have been the mayor of, nung sumabog sa Serendra, kailangan ba yung presidente at saka yung Secretary of Interior and Local Government ang nandun personally sa Serendra? Diba? And time and again, I remember thinking, ba't ganyan yung, not si Pinoy, pero ba't ganyan yung cabinet ni Pinoy? Na bawat crisis, yung presidente ang kailangan humarap. Bawat crisis, it's the president taking the bullet for the... I know we're talking about presidential styles, but I was also thinking of the cabinet, di ba? You want a cabinet to say, you're empowered and you're the alter ego for all of these things, for the economy, for disasters, for defense, for foreign affairs. Why aren't you stepping up? But I do think your point about him delegating to people that he trusts, I think is legit.
Bella, having seen some presidents and Senate and things like that.
Yeah, I think it's true that the perspective of the way Marcos leads has changed over the years, but I also think his actual leadership style has probably recalibrated over the last few years. I mean, you mentioned Maharlika. I think the president who was trying to bulldoze that through Congress is a different president from the one we're seeing today. Like, I think right now, if I were to describe him, I would describe him as measured. And, for example, today we're discussing him as a delegator. I think that's very different from the president who decided he would take over the agriculture portfolio for himself. I don't think he would do something that brash today. So yeah, I think he's also recalibrating. And the way I would describe him today, as I said, is measured. I mean, I'm thinking of that incident in Ayungin Shoal where one of our soldiers lost his thumb. It took him several days to release a statement on that. And I think he faced a lot of criticism for doing that. But then when you listen to his reasoning, there was no immediate communication of the incident and what happened. And I mean, if you listen to some analysts, including the one I interviewed for the story that we did covering that, it really is reasonable that it would have taken him a while to figure out exactly what happened. So, I mean, yeah, he's a measured president. I think now he's a delegator, but I also think he's someone who's figuring out what his leadership style is and also what leadership style is best received by people.
I think those two, yung figuring it out, maybe it's taking a while. But the second is what people will accept, because very obviously, if he continued the policy advances of, say, that year one Maharlika or of charter change or things like that, you know how aggressively people would push back against those issues. So
Yeah.
if you think about where we are with this presidency, di ba, parang the big stories or the big chismis, obviously, was Maharlika, but then it was the internal drama of his cabinet and all of those early year replacements and yung mga these people are out and these people are in, and then the Coldplay thing, di ba, yung gamit na helicopter, yung F1. Apart from like apart from Maharlika and charter change, the aggression on the policy level is very limited. Maybe yung rice control, yung controlling the price of rice, these kinds of things have been limited, but it's hard to read what the agendas are. But what is clear is that one, he wants the international community to like him, and there's so much
Mhm.
effort towards that. Number two is he wants to convey a sense of business stability. So at the very least, the business community can say, hindi magulo. There is no reason para mag-alsa ang business community. And that's pretty key, right? Like, if the business community is hard up and the military is hard up, you know that you're in trouble. But at the very least, as long as they feel like they're happy, you can continue. And I keep saying these terms kasi ano talaga, 'di ba? Alam naman natin na mayroong potential na mag-alsa ang mga tao under the right circumstances, and he's playing this with an understanding of how people perceive him. Like he is playing up to that in a way that even maybe Pinoy tried to limit, 'di ba? He tried to really be his own man. Ito hindi may iwasan ni BBM kung anong pinanggalingan niya at sino siya. The fact that we can't even have that conversation without me parang moving moving around all of those lines. Robbie, you wanna react to that quickly?
No, I think because I think everybody, a lot of people have a difficult time not giving credit, diba? It's hard enough, but some people can't even have a hard time just giving an objective, dispassionate take. Now, look, let's grant everybody the usual disclaimers. Anak yan ni Marcos, anak yan ng diktador, may human rights cases pa yan, may utang pa yan, billion-billion pa yung utang. We always spend a lot of time just make sure hindi kami bulag dyan, di ba? But this exercise is really trying to figure out without being experts, but just trying to figure out how we feel about this president. I think one thing that has not changed is in fact the fact that his audience, you're right, is still outside the Philippines. I think he is
Yes.
still that is still strategically the most important thing for him. And then everything domestically, if he can keep as boring as possible. You mentioned this in your earlier conversations, diba? The boring government, and the boring president for that matter, domestically, he finds virtue in that, and I can see it, diba? Certainly, he's coming from a president who relished the scandal. He's
Yeah.
coming from a previous president who felt that no, the mas malakas ako habang nagkakagulo, and everybody's on their heels and everybody's on their toes, and habang off balance lahat, that's when I can do my stuff.
I
He's
I would
very
I would just classify si Duterte as pinaka-pamacho at pinaka-madrama. Diba?
'di ba?
He
Oo.
thrived in the drama. He relished the ability to
Mm.
be the main character.
Oo. And yung drama niya was both sides, 'di ba? Pagka siya yung siga, siya yung siga. Pagka
Ah,
binanata mo ng
oh,
konti,
grabe.
but President Marcos, certainly, again, comparing it to Duterte, is decidedly and I think strategically and deliberately trying to keep it as boring as possible on the domestic front, on the political side, except when it comes to Duterte. 'Di ba? Because malinaw na yung split nila, 'di ba? And kung ganun lang, I think they have a strategy on, parang fine. Marami kaming baraha sa iyo, marami kaming ICC, and for that matter,
Yeah.
everything down the line on EJ case and how it affects all of your allies in Congress. So ganun. But I do think that one thing that has not changed is therefore his strategy that yung mga cabinet ko, yung mga tao ko, you run the country or you run your departments. Diba? In the meantime, I will project abroad, not just to redeem our name, but also to project stability and predictability in the business climate in the Philippines. And again, you can say that it's coming from a low bar or not, but
Mm.
I do think that has its dividends and that has its value. And I think he's comfortable in this space right now.
I would hazard to say then before I pass it over to you, Bellis, na napapaisip kasi ako because they say like if you're a CEO, each CEO needs to figure out what kind of CEO they are. If they're just specialized on the one thing, and usually the thing that they're very very good at is the thing that they'll focus on, and then they'll hire in other people to do the other stuff that they're not great at. And if President BBM is good at anything, he's great at traveling. No? So he's really embraced na talagang, oh, 'di ba, he'll take those international trips and he will go and ikaw, Bella, what are you observing there?
I do think, to go back to something Sir Robbie was just talking about, I do think another strategy of his is, I think he's realized that for a lot of people here in the country and maybe even abroad, just him being involved in something already makes them skeptical or
Yes.
anti whatever it is that he's working on. So I think over the years, another thing he's realized is the more he keeps his name away from a government measure or project, the more likely it is that it won't face opposition.
Hmm.
So, I mean, again, Maharlika, it was so clear that that was coming from him. And I think everything since then, it's been a lot harder to trace whether it came directly from him. Like, for example, this new Chacha push. I think
Yeah, oo
reporters
nga.
and the
Yeah.
media have had to do a lot to connect those dots that, hey, this is probably coming from the president. But it's not like Maharlika, where we
Ang
knew,
linaw.
we
Yeah, ang
right?
linaw. Eh.
And I think, a good example of that is during the sauna, he named only two measures that he wanted
Yeah.
Congress to pass, which is very little
And
compared
they're
again
wonky. They're very
predecessor.
wonky measures pa. They're not
Exactly.
easy to ano. Yeah.
And neither of them were Chacha, obviously. So I think that's another strategy that he's deploying. And I think that strategy is probably the reason that we're even having this conversation in the first place of what is he like as a president. Because I think as the years progress, the more and more opaque his motives and what he actually wants to do are. It's a bit hard to put your finger on, what are the things that he actually really cares about and wants to get done before he leaves, and what are the things that, he's just letting everyone else run and is delegating to other people. So I think that's what's a bit difficult, but I do see the wisdom in that strategy.
Yeah, I think in terms of what he wants done, I remember, di ba, parang nung nag-start pa lang, and when he was running pa lang, we were saying there's a few things that clearly must be on his agenda. The
Mhm.
first is really to clear the Marcos name. Just put more distance between this generation, the next generation, and really the legacy of his father, which spills over to him and his siblings, di ba?
Yeah.
But the corruption, the human rights abuses, and so on. One full term should, as I kept saying before, as long as he doesn't accidentally declare martial law, di ba?
Mm-hmm.
As long as he tells himself, we don't need to steal anymore, di ba?
Mhm.
And then as long as he tells himself na teka muna, no human rights violations, at least not on the scale like ng sa tatay ko,
Yeah.
di ba? I think that was agenda number one. Just put enough distance between that, and the next generation will always. I think in the next generations will, in their calculation, will start thinking, Marcos, human rights. What are you talking about? Oh, the first one, di ba? But ang
Mm-hmm.
inabutan ko itong si ano, and parang medyo benign naman, or some people will say it's actually
Mm.
quite positive, di ba? So I think that was the first objective. The second objective was also, I think, to recalibrate our foreign policy, swing away from China again, reclaim that, and so on. And then I think the third was just to related to that, to bring in some normalcy again in politics and in governance in the Philippines. normalcy for what it is in the
Yeah.
Philippines. Diba? Coming from what it is for Duterte, I have had people ask me from international communities, nag-normalize naman, di ba? I said, yeah, but you have to remember what normal is for the Philippines.
Mhm.
So I think he has calculated that if we can achieve all of those and keep his mother away from prison um, until whatever how many years is remaining in her life, I think those are the things. But I think in the past year, I mean, part of his what he's grown more comfortable with is on that point of, if we're going to normalize this, people will also say, part of normalization is we need justice and we need accountability. And clearly what they're doing is, okay, let's get Duterte. Diba? Let's make the
Mm.
Dutertes accountable. And that's part of, I think, putting some distance between Marcos the first, Marcos the second.
It's a
When
good
you make
play. Yeah.
no, when you make Duterte
Yeah.
when you make Duterte the baseline, not the 1970s Marcos.
Yeah. And when you were talking to Senator Trillanes, yung ano nga niya, what we need to do is make sure that the Dutertes are not a
Mm.
threat. And it's like
Mm.
the lesser evil here is kumampi tayo sa mga Marcos para sa I hope that clip is not taken out of context. Like, I'm just
Ah,
quoting from that
mm.
conversation. I don't necessarily believe that, but that's actually a conversation that's on the table right now for
Yeah.
that we
Mm.
need to contend with, that we're dealing with. Um, I want, as we move this conversation forward, I wanted to pull it back, and one thing that I want to pull back with is, a few days before the SONA, may umikot na some letter by a mathematician type, like high school mathematician, na gusto niya ipa-copyright or something. So I'm getting the finer points wrong, no? Pero yung main point and what is relevant here is, it's like this letter addressed to the president na tulungan mo naman ako dito. And what I think when I see something like that is, it's because we really don't understand how government works. Like, we as a people have, like, I don't know what civica was. I like, 'di ba, iba-iba ba yung understanding natin ng civics, iba-iba ba yung upbringing natin. Like, I mean, we have a history show that tries to address yung mga gaps natin in our understanding of history. No, but even our understanding of civics and how government works, how bureaucracy works, because we're literally brought up in a world of, isumbong mo kay Tulfo. Like, yan ang framework na kinagisnan ko. And I still see that every time, I would drive by, TV5. Ang dami pa rin, ang haba ng pila, people looking for some sense of justice. People not knowing where to go. So they go to powerful people. And I do think that on a problematic level, one, it reinforces yung sense na para tayo mga serfs to mga lords. And so everyone seems to just be trying to serve a higher lord. I may be going way too theoretical feudal on this, but it reinforces for me this sense that people don't really understand, ano ba dapat ginagawa ni congressman? At pag may kailangan na ganito, si congressman ba yan o si mayor? Or kaya ba yan i-handle ng barangay captain namin? And so on and so forth. And is this a city council matter? At ito yung mga senador, at ano ba talaga? Kasi they'll see the Senate hearings on something, pero, di ba, those are in aid of legislation, or ano ba inimbestigahan? Like, it's so unclear because the activities are often to make sure that there's focus on the political personalities, less so than the boring work. I'm just gonna pass it over to Bella. How does this sound to you? Is this still what you also observe?
Yeah, I think in part it goes back to what the first thing I said was in this conversation, which is, failure of communication. I think um, our leaders probably, it works in their favor that we don't know what to
Hmm.
expect, what we should expect from them, which is why when a typhoon happens, when a disaster happens, it's enough for a lot of people to see the president, their congressman, a senator handing out relief goods, when really that's not their job. I mean, if a disaster happens and most of the relief comes from a congressman, that means there's a whole group of people in government who failed to prepare and address
Yes.
the
Okay.
disaster, if
Yeah.
there was any
Good
effort
point.
at all to address it, right? I mean, like, one thing Marcos did do during this latest storm is I saw him personally handing out relief goods. And I couldn't help but think to myself, anyone could have done that job. You know, you could have, I mean, it's good that relief goods are being handed out, but anyone could have done that. But who else can be president at this time? I mean, you're so on top of it that you have free time to hand out relief goods. I mean, I doubt it. People were in the flood accepting relief goods. So obviously the job's not yet done, right? So I think it's a failure to communicate to people what your actual job is, and therefore helping you when you fail to perform the job.
I think my unfortunate contention, just to represent the politicians here, is
Yeah.
diba,
Then,
unfortunately, diba,
and you're right.
I see you reacting to it, Bella, because I know
Oh, and,
I know
I
and
mean,
it pisses us all off.
I know
Diba?
I know you're saying that to play devil's advocate, and but like, that's part of the effort to keep the job. That's
Yes.
not part of the job.
Yes. All right. I hear that. Yeah.
yes, but I would say that you talk to politicians, and I've spoken to some. I know politicians also at the local level,
Mhm.
and you can look at it as it's to their advantage, right? That's true. But I do believe some of these politicians when they say that, yeah, but we're also slave to it. Parang even the best performing mayor who would rather be in the war room, who would rather be in the back room while yung sistemang tinayo niya for disaster relief and disaster mitigation and emergency response, sige, patakbuhin niya na yan. They also feel na, yeah, but out of sight, out of mind. Parang you can't just be a politician that lets your work speak for itself, because that's
Yeah.
why the anti-EPAL law is not working, because politicians know it's not enough. It's not enough na kung hindi ko ibalandra yung mukha ko dyan, hindi ko ibalandra. It's not to say that it's correct.
I do want to respond to what Sir Robbie was saying.
Yeah.
I do get that. I get that it's a cultural, systemic issue that we're facing. But, I'll occupy the optimistic, maybe overly idealistic space and say that there's also a universe where they can do the actual job and then communicate how they did that and why it's better that they did that instead of being on a truck in the middle of a flood handing out relief goods.
I
And I
too
know
would
that's
like to live in
I
that universe.
yeah, and I
no,
know
I get
that's I know that's harder.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
that's harder. And I know
Mm.
that, maybe the first couple of people who attempt it might not be able to hold on to their seats. But like, someone has to do it if we want what I think all three of us acknowledge to be a systemic cultural problem to change.
At saka, parang at the end of the day, parang yes, nasinanay ng mga politiko yung tao. And yung mga tao rin, to your point, Carl, parang have lost sight of civics. Di ba? Parang when you say na kung hindi ka rin tatakbo, wala kang karapatang magsalita, that's clearly a lack of understanding of how our republic and our democracy is supposed
Of
to
how any democracy works. Yeah.
to work, di ba? On the other hand, when people say na, sa bawat problema dapat nakikita kita kaagad, that also betrays, a certain level of, teka muna, that's not how it's supposed to work. And then you swing to the other side, pagka hindi mo naman nakita, you're also asking, asan yung presidente? In fact, you're counting. Ilang araw bago siya lumabas, di ba? Ilang araw bago siya. And so we reduce it to the most simple things that we can criticize. But at the end of the day, we are victimizing not the politicians, we're victimizing our political system. And then the political system in turn is giving us what we deserve. Diba? So we all, and it becomes such a messy conversation, but at the end of the day, it just leads always to a a very long conversation about how ultimately it's about education, it's about election reform, it's a lot of these things that will not be solved by a, even by the best president that you could that you could elect, di ba? Because eventually that president, kahit magaling siya, will fall into the same traps. They will talk about charter
Mhm.
change because it's a one-term president, and the second half you're a lame duck. And so you need somebody to bring up charter change, and then to just pose that possibility. What if I stay on? And then you have a little more residual power in the second half of your term. So everybody ends up still playing the same game. And unfortunately, it will take a lot of reforms. And unfortunately, those reforms will not be delivered even by a single leader, by a single president.
Well, ako, I want to close this out by answering the question, bakit hindi ka na lang magpresidente? Kasi,
What?
di ba? Yung comment sa ano, di ba? Bakit
Mm.
kung ang galing nyo, edi ikaw na lang magpresidente. Ganyan na. Sure. But this just goes back to the point of, I would love to be president or a senator or a congressman I have all the ideas, but that's not enough. Like, I think, sure, I'm a smart person. I'd love to do these things, but electability and our willingness to elect people who may or may not be qualified. You know, all due respect to our current Senate slate, but there's a bunch of people I voted for that I feel are more qualified to be legislators than some of our current legislators. With their backgrounds, with their understandings of policy and so on. Pero ito yung binoboto natin eh. So bakit hindi tayo magpresidente? Bakit hindi tayo magganyan? Because the path is so difficult to get there. And that's part of that understanding is why are we voting for these people? And then when you actually come across a smart, bright person, I'm not saying that person is me, but then you negate rather than to try to find ways. And I think that for me is the thing is I I find it really a problem how much charisma or name recall or all of those things matter in our politics.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
diba? And it doesn't matter how good a leader you are. And it doesn't
Mm.
matter how skilled the leader you are. If you lack that charisma, if you don't get up on that stage and dance, sorry, hindi kayo boboto.
Yeah, it's
Ay,
like
ang yabang naman niya, ayaw niya
mm,
makisama.
it's like the polar opposite of what we are seeing, di ba? Parang magagaling na politiko, pagkatapos pagdating sa Malacanang or so ano man ang kinauupuan, parang nakakadismaya. The polar opposite of that is terrible politicians. People who don't know how to navigate the real politic in the Philippines. But you have a sense na kung pwede lang tong mag-skip ng election at diretsong presidente, magaling na presidente ito, di ba? We don't have to put ourselves in the hypothetical, di ba? Take Lenny, di ba? Sige, Lenny ang iniisip ng lahat ng tao dito. And I have no doubt, di ba, that if Lenny were president, I can imagine, magaling siguro presidente si Lenny. May experience siya sa local government, um, may qualification siya, she's worked in civil society, she's done a lot of wonderful causes,
Mhm.
she's an economist, she's a lawyer, and so on. And you're thinking, okay, but there's no going around na, yeah, but how good was she as a politician? Because she needed to be a politician first before she got to Malacanang, di ba? And that's why it's difficult to just
Yeah.
say na ano,
Just do the work. Eh. Yeah.
because the system really favors the better politicians first. No? I'm not saying there are no good leaders who are also not good politicians. I think there are a lot, especially in local government. What we have to see now is whether that charisma can scale, and that charisma and that expertise can scale from the local level to the national level. And I think that's the dream for a lot of people in terms of an archetype of eto magaling to, proven na politician at this level or in this department. Now we need to get him or her to a higher level, and that's the elusive person for all of us.
Okay, Bella, any last points?
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with that. I think being a candidate and being an actual leader is two different jobs, and you can be good at one, bad at the other, or good at both and bad at the other. Bad at both, I mean. But I will say, um, I think it's like a constantly moving target as well, like in terms of what it takes to be a good candidate. I mean, for example, since we've already brought up Lenny, Lenny beat Marcos for the race to vice president, and she did it as someone with half his name ID. So I think at that time, she was
Mm-hmm.
indisputably the better candidate. But then Marcos went on to build, you know, what many call, and I think what I'm comfortable calling, a troll army, like a very significant online apparatus to back him. And
Sure.
I
Yeah.
think it finally happened this last presidential election, that that's what it takes to be a good candidate, is to have this formidable online presence and backing. So I think in that way, I mean, maybe a positive spin to that might be what you lack as, you know, a charismatic, traditionally charismatic candidate. Maybe the online portion of this new framework
Mm.
of elections
Yeah.
might
Sure.
actually work for those people. Because I mean, it's not like, I mean, no offense to President Marcos, I've seen him sing a few times, but he's not a dancer. He's not. I don't think anyone.
Hindi
I
siya
don't think
mananalo ng
anyone
talent
believe.
portion.
Ah,
Yeah, I mean, if he tried to run as like Marcos Labandera, no one would
ah,
believe that. I mean,
mm,
you know, everyone knows he's wealthier than God, but I
Uh,
mm,
think it really helped that he had this online presence, creating, you know, these 2 minute
yeah.
videos, telling
mm,
these small stories, true and untrue, you know, and maybe that can work for these talented technocrats, but not necessarily talented politicians.
And that's a good point, di ba? Parang the technology and the ano, allows it. And the technology challenges you now to just be creative, just be imaginative, and just be in touch. Di ba? I mean,
Mhm.
I do think that's a good point that you now have an
I'm,
ability,
it's
even
singit
in
lang
a
ako, Rob,
presidential
yeah.
system.
Because I will acknowledge, yes, you should be creative and all that, but also you needed all that money.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
the ability to harness the internet in the way that it was harnessed in the last
Hmm.
elections. There's a lot of money behind that.
Yes.
Yeah.
No,
With,
that's.
diba? But it's not just be creative. It's be
Mm,
creative and have the resources. And
mm,
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave that there. Na parang saan ang galing yung resources na yan? Hmm.
I think I'll
mm,
also add, you know, it's easier to gain all that ground online when you're doing a lot of lying. I mean, there was a
mm,
lot of outlandish
Yeah.
lying that helped
Yeah.
that campaign. So it would be
mm,
harder to bridge that gap while telling the truth of who you are as a candidate and what you want to achieve as president, senator, congressman. But I do think it's possible.
mm,
I think that we could keep talking on and on about leadership, and I actually hope that we have more conversations about this and questioning how we want to be looking and framing leadership. And if we have viewers, listeners who might up listening to this, please pop in, share, let us know what you think. Tell us if you want more conversations like this. Tell us where you want us to take the conversation. For me, I'm still going to go back to I wish that government were run more like a company and it was very boring.
mm,
And we just had competence and we would promote based on skill and competence and not skill on the dance floor or the ability to I don't know but the or the ability to um hire a troll army or whatever else. Like there are certain things that we see in our day-to-day work and business lives that might help if they were transferred over into our political lives. So thanks for listening to this episode of Teka Teka. Thank you, Robbie and Bella, for having this conversation with me. If you found this insightful, paki-share naman. It would mean so much to us if you did. This episode was hosted by me, Carl Javier, edited by Pidoy Blanco, produced by Bella Perez Rubio, and our executive producer is Jill Caro. Make sure you follow Teka Teka on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast so you can continue to get slow news that matters to you.